So I'm back in the Make It Happen studio, and I'm really excited with today's guest, who is Kimmay Caldwell. Kimmay has a byline of hooray, and you're going to find out why she uses the word hooray so much as she does, but also her story of how she ended up going from being a bra fitter to really being a woman that actually can see and connect and empathize with women in the whole of their lives, and how her having the bra fitting business has made her change the way she looks at her body and support women as we look at our bodies. Come and meet Kimmay.
Hooray! So excited to be here.
Hooray! We should say hooray.
Always saying hooray. That is, in fact, something I literally say often.
So while we're saying hooray for Kimmay, do tell the listeners and the viewers more about Kimmay. Please introduce
Hooray!
yourself. Hooray.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Kimmay Caldwell. I'm based in the States. I live in Philadelphia, although I often tell people I actually am from New York State and I lived in New York City from age 18 to 34. So 16 beautiful years. Then my husband and I moved quite suddenly for 3 very strange years to rural Oklahoma, which I know there's an international crowd here. So if you're not familiar what that is, it was almost like doing a study abroad program in my own country. It was a very, very different culture. And now I live in Philadelphia, which actually we've been here for about a year and a half, and we really love it. So back to the East Coast of the States. And I own the company Hurray Media and the business Hurray Kimmay. So my brand name rhymes, and truly I do say hooray. And really, what I focus on is helping people say hooray inside, outside, and underneath. And that underneath part is because of my many years in the undergarment business as a bra fitter and now a bra fit teacher, and my big focus on using underwear as self-care. Like, I really feel like there's such a powerful opportunity for us to use undergarments as a self-care tool. So that happens to be my best tool. There are many ways that I work with people, and undergarments just happens to be my biggest focus.
I love that. That's such a cool thing to do because we all have to wear undergarments.
I
Well,
mean, I guess you don't have to, but most
yeah,
people
probably are some
do.
women that are liberated and don't want to wear them,
Sure.
but generally, we wear undergarments and we don't really think about those undergarments. So
Right.
let's just dig right in. So you've decided to change the conversation we have with your body by using your undergarments,
Yes.
and then eventually your whole self, and to help other people do the same. So was there a trigger to how you suddenly saw undergarments in this way or wanted to change the conversation?
Absolutely. I wasn't, and it wasn't just like I put on my bra one day and was like, like that's not how that happened. So I was going to school for musical theater in New York City, and I was financially independent at 18. So really just had to work my way through college. And I was making $7 an hour selling shoes, and that was not cutting it. Even back in 2003, this was not a viable solution for me financially. And a friend of mine said that a bra store was opening up. Would I be interested? Did I care about bras? And I was like, I don't care about bras, but you know what? How much do they pay? And she said $10 an hour. And I said, I'm going to be rich. Let's go. So I got hired on the spot. And I always sort of joke around about that because I had no intention of leading this movement or in any way stewarding undergarments as self-care. It just was not on my radar. But sometimes those life-changing things happen and you sort of get pulled in a direction that you're meant to go. So this was that for me. In that first week as a bra fitter, which it's New York City, so I was seeing every kind of body you could imagine. I had the veil lifted about what real human bodies looked like. And this was before Instagram or the body positive movement, which again, now we sort of have the pendulum swings back and forth, right? So we had for a long time some like real commitment to body positivity and no airbrushing and things like that. And now we've got like filters are a big thing again, where everyone sort of looks just so fake. But back in 2003, we didn't have any of that. All I had to look at for bodies was that airbrushed to perfection image on magazines. And even at 20, I just turned 20, as a very privileged person. I'm white presenting, even though I'm Latina. I am, tall and thin, especially at the time. I was very thin and healthy. I did not match up. I did not measure up to that perfect image. Who could? But as a young person, I thought that was what I was supposed to look like in order to be loved, in order to be valuable, in order to be attractive, in order to be worthy. And seeing real human bodies, I was like, oh, that's what bodies look like. And I noticed a trend that in that fitting room, every single person that came in had something negative to say in the mirror. And it was mostly about things I did not even see or thought about, and I realized I was doing the same thing. So it started with me. My way into loving myself and supporting myself was through my relationship with my body, because I think it was the most obvious and the most damaged, to be honest. I grew up in 90s diet culture in the US, and um, could just never be thin enough. And so when I started talking kinder to myself, my life started to change. I mean, I went from wearing no shorts for 7 years of my young life to finally wearing shorts, and then, doing these photo shoots around the world. But I also realized I could help somebody else in the fitting room. And I was like, I could help you find a bra like this. Like, it's going to be comfortable. That's going to change your life already. Hooray. But like, while we're here, why don't we talk about who you see in the mirror? And why don't we talk about the number that is on the tag of that bra and what feelings of identity that brings up? Because when you tell someone who's been wearing a 34C their whole life that a 32 double D fits best, their world has changed. Their identity is shifted. And I'm like, I literally did not change your body today. We just changed the number on the tag. And that identity work was very unintentionally on my part the basis of the coaching that I do now, the teaching that I do now, and really realizing that so much of our identity is in our chest and in our bodies. And we say this phrase in the States of like, get it off your chest when you have like a heavy issue. And that has never been more clear to me, that there is so much that we carry right here. So it was really a powerful start for me, because it wasn't just about me. I was also seeing people who had had mastectomies, people who had gone through cancer, people who were pregnant and nursing, transgender folks, like every kind of body that you could imagine, and the identity and how it changed here on this part of the body. So now I really want people to be able to wake up in the morning and make an autonomous, loving, and informed choice. To be honest, that choice could be no bra, right? Like, I'm not a bra psycho. I'm not going to come to your house and be like, where's your bra? Everyone
Where's
should
your
be wearing
bra?
bras. It's not about that, but it's like so many of the people who wear bras either hate them and are wearing them out of dread, or they're not wearing one because they're making, some, what they feel is like a really strong statement against some kind of patriarchy. And I'm like, you know what? Absolutely. Let's make a statement against the patriarchy. And are we making the most loving and informed decision for your body as it is today? Not as it was 10 years ago, not as it will be in 10 years, but today, and what it needs and what it wants and what it's craving. So I want people to open up that bra drawer in the morning, and instead of going, ugh, I guess if I have to go, okay, who am I being today? How do I want to feel today? Just like this, I put on a bright pink dress today and bright pink lipstick. I do the same thing. I have a beautiful bra on underneath. That helps clothe this sacred area right over the heart. I always say that breast and chest are the gateway to the heart. So I've made this loving choice about what to wear. It could also be a loving choice to wear something soft and stretchy and cozy. It could also be loving to wear no bra. It could be loving to wear something really firm and hold me in and help me feel locked and loaded. Just depends on the feeling that I want that day and who I want to be and how I want to embody it. So it's a really, really sacred part of the body that I get to work with on a regular basis. And I feel really honored to do so.
Yeah, I love that story. And I've heard you talk before about how you put on a bra and you're actually putting it over your heart,
Exactly.
which I think
Exactly.
is just a beautiful way to look at it, because we don't, do we? We just grab the nearest bra to us. Maybe it matches with what we're wearing, maybe it
Right.
doesn't. We just stick it on and just, feel that we as you said, feel that we have to wear it. And then it doesn't make us feel necessarily so comfortable in
Yeah, and it's so important thing. And here's the thing: if you do that every single morning, that's a habit, right? And our habits matter. Like that 1% change we could make really adds up. So if anyone's ever read James Clear's book Atomic Habits, like that's how you shift your life, is that one difference. So imagine you know, whether you believe in chakras or energy or not, right? Just this area over the heart is just so rich with opportunity for change. Because imagine if when you put that on, it's a mindless act, and B, you're kind of settling, right? You're like, ugh, whatever, I guess this thing. And now you're probably walking around with one of three things or all three. These are the three most common things I see in the fitting room, which is shame. They're too much. They're not enough, right? Like, oh, they're not look like what I looked like when I was 19, or like after having kids, blah, 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 blah. The story that we have, a lot of times there's a too much component, that they're too big, I'm too sloppy, I'm too fat, too whatever. So there's shame, there's confusion, like what bra size do I even wear? Like how do bra sizes work? Like how the heck is this thing supposed to work? That comes from this tradition of passing down misinformation, because we don't talk about this in school. No one has a class on bra fitting. I do, but people didn't. And it's just been taught down by somebody who also didn't know what was going on. God bless my mom. She's a wonderful mother. She had no idea what she was talking about. She taught me how to put my bra on the wrong way, which was totally bad for the bra. And she also passed down the information that like a D cup is Dolly Parton. D cup is way too big. Now, mind you, I wear a 34 triple D these days. So thank God I've let go of that story of too big and too much.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is discomfort, which again, most people notice right away if their bra doesn't fit. It's riding up, it's digging in, it's falling off, it's just frustrating, right? So if you're walking around with those three things in the front of your body, right over your heart every day, you're going to make decisions for the rest of the day from that place. Oof, like that's tough.
Yeah.
So instead, I want people to take that moment to make it mindful, and you have to start with the right tools, mind you. You have to start with bras that fit, but to put on something that fits well, that feels good, that helps you embody who you want to be today. And now your shoulders are back, your heart is out, you feel fantastic. Whether somebody sees it or not, you're walking around with a little extra spring in your step. And again, it could be a very basic bra, it could be a fun bra, doesn't matter. You feel fantastic in exactly how you chose to feel that day. And now you're making decisions from this heart led place, from this shoulders back, chest out place, with no shame, with no confusion, with no discomfort. Oof, what a better way to make decisions from. Like, what a better place, I should say, to make decisions from on a daily basis. And that little change every single morning, the more you do this, the more you say something kind to yourself in the process, too. Wow, now we've really exponentially changed things, right? If you can say something kind to yourself when you put your bra on in the morning, and you do that every single day for a year, you will be a different human in 1 year, completely different human. So that's why I do what I do.
So yeah, it's amazing that you can help people that are the bra wearers as well as people that sell the bras, as you know, people that are out in the shops. How did you come up with that as a business? Did you have any roadblocks to creating this amazing business?
Did I have any roadblocks? Ellie, please. I mean, that's part of owning a business, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I did. I had several. So I started in that bra boutique in New York City, and I actually quickly got hired by Saks Fifth Avenue in their flagship store in New York on Fifth Ave. And then I was really quickly recruited by La Perla, so like the very expensive French Italian lingerie brand, to be their rep at Saks and at Bergdorf Goodman. And that was where I also got my first taste of wholesale and also my first on-camera appearance. So my first ever TV appearance to talk about bras was live on NBC, which is like one of the biggest networks here in the States, for Martha Stewart's show. Martha Stewart, I mean, she's like an icon, a legend. And that was my first ever taste of talking about undergarments on television. And I was hooked. I was like, oh, this is fun. And also with La Perla, I did Tim Gunn's Guide to Style, and I just loved it. But I kind of thought at the time, even I was like, this is still just my college job. Like this is all just to get me through school. So I had no intention at the time of starting a business. And in fact, I quit undergarments altogether.
Okay.
And I worked on Fifth Ave in clothing and ready to wear. And this was 2007, 2008. So right during the recession here in the States, where, business was tough. And I realized very quickly, I did not love selling dresses, even though I love clothes and fashion as much as I loved selling bras. And it was because of the transformational effect. It was a very blunt object for me. Some people, there are great stylists out there who can change someone's life with a dress. That was not for me. It was just a tool that I could not use as effectively. And that mattered to me. I wanted to change people's lives. I had a taste of it. I wanted more of it. So I actually got let go. I think I was there for a year, and I got let go during a big layoff period for a lot of people. And at first I was devastated because I was like, I'm amazing. Why would you ever let me go? And so for 3 days, I was real upset. And then I realized what a favor that was. I just was so miserable there. And I would never have had the courage to quit, to be completely honest. So that was an absolute divine intervention. So what I ended up doing was some creative stuff, and in fact, I actually had a commercial agent. I was selling crafts. I was like making earrings, and I had a really crafty business. So I kind of liked the idea of starting up a business. I just didn't know any way to do it. And then the bra fitting shop came back to me and said, "Hey, we actually need fitters again." And I went from making a large salary down back again to the bottom of the pile where I was now doing online customer service. So I got a taste of the industry from that side. Then also I became the store manager, and then I was training our staff. And then I became the marketing manager and the marketing director. Mind you, I did not go to school for marketing, but am super creative. And I really loved being able to communicate with more people than just one on one. I knew what our customer was going to say before they said it. I knew how to finish their sentences. I knew everything that was going on in their head. So the market research was like invaluable. And I loved this idea of marketing. So it was in 2014 when it was actually suggested to me to start a marketing business. Now, mind you, as a person who went to school for musical theater, I was like, no way will I ever have a boring job like marketing, right? Like that was like the furthest from any reality I had ever envisioned for myself. But I loved the content creation side of things. I loved creating social media and videos and educational things and inspirational things. Like that part really lit me up. So I had one foot out the door and one foot still at the bra fitting shop. I just couldn't let go of that stability. And I think I've told you this story before, but I'll tell everybody else here that I was working part time at that shop because the business was very mismanaged and kind of going down. Like, we don't need a marketing director, but we'd love for you to still fit in the shop. And I was like, I'm graduated from fitting in the shop. Thank you. But I was like, I also still need the money. So sure. And so I was fitting in the shop, and the producer from Tim Gunn's Guide to Style, who I had not seen in 7 years, and we stayed kind of barely in contact on LinkedIn. So this, by the way, absolutely keep in touch with your contacts. Um, she came walking into the bra shop in New York, and I recognized her immediately. And I said, "Hey, aren't you so and so?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "We worked together on the show." She's like, "Oh my god!" And I was fitting her, and she said, "So, what are you doing here now? Like, what's up?" And I was like, "Well, actually, kind of thinking of starting my own marketing business for intimates brands because I really hate how like big companies like Victoria's Secret talk to people about their bodies. I hate it. It's like this, you should want to look like this, will help you get there. And instead of like, actually, who you are today and the body you're in today is beautiful and absolutely okay. And this undergarment that you put on every day is going to help you realize that. That's such a different message. And so I was telling her this, and I could, like, without hesitation, she went, "So then just leave." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Listen, you're never going to take yourself seriously, and your clients aren't going to take you seriously until you just go. I'd love for you to stay here and be a fitter. You're a great fitter." But she's like, "If you want to do something bigger and you want to reach more people than just this one-to-one thing, you got to just go." And it was like, ugh, like a gut punch. So I literally told my boss that day, and I went home and told my husband.
Wow.
And 1 week later, to the day, he got let go from his job.
Oh,
2 weeks later, the only client I even had on my roster was like, "We can't afford you anymore. We're going," and they left. And it was my first experience of like, "Oh, you should have a contract." So that was wild. And I went around to like this expo, where I happened to be stepping in to help my former boss at La Perla do some wholesale at this big expo. And I like that night when I lost my client, it was also, by the way, on my second year wedding anniversary. I like hand cut some little business cards and went around and just said like, "Hi, do you need social media? Do you need social media?" Just like bold. And now when I step in at that expo, I've hosted numerous panels and workshops there. I'm like a little celebrity there. People stop and like take their picture with me. So it was an absolute 180 from where I had started. Now, one of the biggest roadblocks besides like getting started, which is one of the biggest ones, like taking the leap is one of the biggest ones for sure, was actually switching from doing behind the scenes stuff to in-person stuff. So the marketing part of things was great, and I was actually crushing it. I had a bunch of clients, but I woke up one day and realized, I don't want to write someone else's tweets. I just don't want to sit here and manage behind the scenes. I'm not a behind the scenes person. So even though I was good at it, it was not fulfilling. And I think I had to get over some stories of being vain or wanting a lot of attention and just like, things that I had been told when I was little that I was just too much and I was too loud and I was too vibrant and too bright and I should tone it down. And I thought it was more professional and respectable to do something behind the scenes. That was what I was telling myself. And I decided to pitch a brand to pay me to wear bathing suits and to wear and share and to tell other people about it on my blog. Now, mind you, I had started the experiment of like, let me wear shorts for the first time just before this. So, like, I'm talking like maybe it was years, but still, it felt so new, and I had never shown up publicly in photos in, like, a bold way in my bathing suit, let alone undergarments. But I called up a brand and I said, "Listen, would you," or it was really it's a retail store, it's one of the biggest ones in the US actually, and, said, "Would you pay me for this?" And they were like, "Yes." And I was like, "Amazing." And I, like, took a trip to Florida with a photographer friend of mine and just, like, made this beautiful photo shoot, which I still have pictures of now. And it was my first taste of, like, "Oh, so I can, like, create fun art and do like, travel to cool places and get paid to do it and inform people about how to wear things that fit well and feel great on their bodies and celebrate their bodies at the same time? This is possible?" And I made an entire business out of it. So now a lot of what's available to the people who are listening are, um, for bra wearers, are as free content on my site, lots of shopping guides, great information about fit and inspiration about how to feel great in your body and forgive yourself and all sorts of things. But I also have a course called Bra Confidence and Comfort, which sort of evolved because I really felt like, again, that misinformation that was passed down again and again. We just were never taught this. And I was like, this is everything that your mom never taught you that you need to know as an informed person who wears undergarments. And then that turned into me training. I was already doing this in Paris at the big expos, but I turned it a course in a community for bra fitters who wanted to fit with accuracy and empathy because I can't fit everybody, and I need to be able to refer people to folks to fitters who I know not only are gonna do a good job fitting, but are gonna create a safe and sacred place for that person in the fitting room because it's such a vulnerable thing for someone to go in and reveal themselves and to do that identity work. So this course and community is really built to be a step one for those folks so that they can just have the foundations and the essentials and then the community, because bra fitting is a weird job, Allie. It's a weird job that not everybody understands, and we get a lot of creepy, like, things from guys who are like, "Ugh, do you need an assistant?" And I'm like, "Ugh, ugh." Like, if I have to hear that one more time, I think I'm gonna barf. So, we get each other. We're bra nerds. We understand what it's like to look at someone's strap and be like, "Oh, the 85567 from Wacol." Like, we know. We were just nerding out on great fit and how to support people beyond the bra in there. So, that was a long answer to basically say, I built a global company with clients all over the world simply because I took a $10 an hour job that
Yeah,
turned into this.
yeah,
And
yeah,
now I have basically a media company that's changing people's lives. So hooray.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So based on your amazing business that you have now, which is absolutely phenomenal, are there 3 lessons that we could learn from what you've, discovered?
Yes. So my first is quick, this especially makes sense in the beginning of a business, which is to show up and be nice. So by show up, I mean say yes to things, say yes to podcasts, say yes to opportunities, go to the meeting. And when you go to the meeting or go to the networking thing, be there fully, like say yes to it, right? Like be like, yes, I'm in. And then um, be nice, meaning like create great relationships with people. Like I said, that one producer who I worked with 7 years ago, she came back into my life in a random way, but like I was a good human who she wanted to help and support and encourage. And that's an energy thing. That comes from the inside of like truly liking yourself, and being okay with receiving help and reaching out to people. That's the number one way I'm on television all the time now is because I show up and I'm nice. I do a really great job and I'm a really great fun person to work with. So those are key. So that's number one. Number two is definitely the personal development thing. So a lot of times people when they're in business, they feel like they'll focus on the external thing. So they'll hire a business coach who's going to help them reach X amount of money or whatever. But what I have found to be the most impactful is to actually find like a mindset coach, to find someone who's going to help you with self-forgiveness when stories pop up. Because you could have the best strategy plan in the entire world. And if you don't believe you can get there, or you don't believe you're worthy of it, or you don't um, you feel like an imposter, you're never going to get there. And if you do, it's going to be super fleeting and you're going to, sabotage yourself or whatever. So please do the inside work to know your worth, your value, your meaning, and really have like some truth that you can stand on. The other is to create what I call the 4 pillars. So um, these are the 4 things that I keep on like a post-it note next to me at my desk. I'm not at my desk right now, but all the time. And I refer back to these constantly. And when I coach people, this is what we start with. We start with these 4 things. So the first is your why statement, which is very popular thing. There's books about this. My why is I support people to uncover pathways of love within themselves and with each other so that we can have a more harmonious world. Nowhere in there did I say anything about bras or coaching or marketing. It frees me up to do that in any way so that my business can evolve, can pivot. That's really important. The second is I am statements, and these are who you are no matter what, whether the client says yes or no, whether you reach your revenue goal or not, whether you're able to even do things like you get sick and you just can't do stuff anymore or not. You are still these things no matter what. I have to remind myself of those on a daily basis. And mine, for example, some of mine are like, I'm divinely created. I'm generous. I'm loved. I'm lovable, right? Like I am love. Those things are really important to keep in mind. The third thing is your faith statement, which I have. Gabby Bernstein has a great sort of example on how to create a faith statement. I lean on that daily. I have like signed on God as my like business partner, and I lean on that in a really big way because again, this is what I trust. This is like what I can stand on and trust and believe I have faith in this. And then the fourth one is my values. So these are, again, when I'm making business decisions on who to partner with, what to do, where to go, I just constantly come back to my values. And sometimes you think, like, oh, I know my values and I have to have it there. Having it next to you on a regular basis, it's like such an uplifting thing to do. So I don't know, I just refer to them on a regular basis. And again, some of mine are creativity, inclusivity, joy. And if I'm deciding something and it doesn't match up with those, or there's not a hefty overlap or it doesn't support those, I know it's a no. I know, okay, oof, this seems like a cool opportunity, but like not aligned, ready to say no to that. And that really makes decisions a lot easier for me. So those are my 3.
Yeah, and amazing because boundaries are something that we are really, a lot of us are really find difficult to set.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what you're setting. You're setting your boundaries. This is what I do. This is what I don't do, and this
Yeah.
is how I do the bit in the middle.
Yeah,
Um,
it's almost like setting standards that then you
yeah,
can create boundaries around, right? It's like I know what I stand for and stand behind, and that means anything outside of that is just a no for me. It's just a no.
yeah. And I love the first one because I think we all find it difficult to actually receive things
Mm,
from other people. We're all
mhm.
good at, particularly as women, giving out stuff, actually asking for help and actually receiving something from somebody else, or even
Totally.
celebrating something that we've done that's been really amazing. We
Huge. Yes.
just to move on, don't we? We don't actually stop and pause and celebrate before
Yeah.
we jump onto
That's
the
me,
next
babe.
thing.
That's me. As a Capricorn person, I'm like constantly like, great, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I had to create a practice of saying hooray for things. And any container that I'm in right now, if I'm facilitating it, we pretty much start everything with like, share a hooray. And it could be something really small from your day. It could be something really big that you're excited about. But being able to say it out loud and be witnessed by other people is really powerful because otherwise we just have our heads some of us just have our heads down and move forward without really celebrating ourselves along the way, and that's
Yeah,
important.
and a low hanging fruit is still low hanging fruit, isn't
Still
it?
a hooray. Yeah,
Pick
still
pick
delicious
pick
juicy
it.
fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a very quick fire round. Have you read a book that's made a difference to your life and why?
Okay, so I was thinking about this, and there's many, right? There's so many books that I love and I would recommend, but I want to say I'm actually in the middle right now. I actually really just started. I'm like chapter 3, but I was like, oh, and it's actually related to what you just said. So I'm going to share it. and it's called Infinite Receiving by Susie Ashworth. You and I talked about this, and I finally went and I got it. Actually, I got the audio version of it.
Perfect.
And receive is my word for the year. And so I'm really committed to like how do I receive? And Susie's work is really interesting because it's very energetic. It can be a little out there for some people, but yet she's so grounded. She's a really grounded person, and that was really important to me. So that's one. Another one I will say that I did actually read is Chill and Prosper by Denise Duffield Thomas, who is a great mindset teacher for money mindset. She's wonderful. Another one on money is Overcoming Under Earning. What is her name? Oh, I'm gonna forget the author's name.
I'll
Maybe you
put
can put it in the
it
show
in
notes.
the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry about that, but wonderful information there. It's actually really more of a workbook that you go through with friends. And I started it with a group of women that we just kept meeting. And now we've been meeting every Wednesday for like a co-working session.
Okay.
And it sort of started as like, we're just not afraid to talk about money in this group. And like, I didn't have anybody I could talk about money with. And now we've been co-working together for something like 5 years every Wednesday, and
Wow.
it's been super, super helpful. So that's another really great book. I really
Yeah.
love that one.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Women and money.
Yeah.
One of our members within Costa Women, well, she's still an accountant. She still has the business, but she's
Oh,
actually spending more of her time in Spain. And
oh,
she
nice.
course recently, and only men turned up to the course because it was all about finances. And she said to me, this is really bizarre. And I said, women just don't like to talk about money. So interesting. Yeah, yeah,
That is very interesting, and I wonder too, first of all, now we can, like, unpack a whole bunch of stuff about, like, our culture and stuff, but I will say really quickly that, in the United States, women couldn't have their own checking account until, like, the '70s, 1970s, to be clear. That blew my mind when I heard this, and I was thinking about the women in my line. Ooh, I get, like, goosebumps already, but the women in my line before me and how unempowered they were to make their own financial decisions, not only to make their own money, but to make decisions about it. And I remember when I moved to Oklahoma, uh, I met with this very cool, very powerful woman in my mind. And I remember talking to her about how she really wanted to get this certification for this training thing that she was doing. I can't remember. And she said, "Well, I have to ask my husband, and I just don't know if it's going to fit in our budget." And I was like, "Well, don't you budget together, or don't you have your own money?" And she's like, "Well, I don't have my own money." And I was like flabbergasted by this.
yeah,
Um, because the work that we're doing is not necessarily trying to, I'm going to be really careful when I say this. It's not that we're trying to replace men as partners or anything like that, but it's like coming together as individuals who are both not only able but willing to talk about money is so important because money is our biggest form of energy exchange. And it helps us make decisions, like it helps us make moves. And
yeah,
I want to be a person that's making moves in the world. And yeah, so anyway, I just think about my own mother and my grandmother and my great grandmother and how I am breaking generational chains, deciding to be a person who is in charge of her own money. Now, I've been with my husband for 18 years. We've been married for like almost 12. And we have a joint account that we pay certain things out of, and then we have our own money. And there are certain things we just pay for on our own, but we also make informed decisions together. I know what he has in his bank account, he knows what I have in mine, and we're making family led decisions, but none of them are like, oh, I have to ask him for permission for this.
yeah,
I've never had to do that. I'll come to him for counsel sometimes to be like, hey, what do we think about this? Or this is a big move I'm making. I want to make sure we're both okay with this. But in the end, he's like, it's your money. Like I trust you as my wife to decide to make smart decisions, and I trust him to do the same. So anyway, it's wild. We have a lot of this ingrained in us that like women aren't quote good with money, and I want to bust that. I think we just haven't had the permission or the access from the outside world, and I think we can claim it. We can claim it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have got a friend here who she's lived here a long time. She went to buy a car and she was told, well, you have to bring your husband if you want to buy a car. She said, I don't have a husband. He said, well, you can't buy the car then. I mean, this was like in the 1980s, but seriously.
It's wild. Oh my gosh. That's wild. So
That
yeah,
is
I mean,
wild.
it's still
Yeah.
happening. It's still happening.
Yeah, yeah. But
Wild.
and it's interesting. I've never thought of it being relational, but it is, isn't it? It's so ingrained in our history that it just shows up, and it's something that we need to work on and fight for. And
Yep.
take
And
control
it's
over.
and it's true whether you have a partner or not, right? Like, I mean, one
Exactly.
of the cool things about women being able to have their own money is that they don't need a partner. But
Yeah,
even if you do have a partner, like it's just the stickiest topic for so many couples. I think it's the number one reason why people divorce is because
yeah,
they disagree on money. So doing your own work and your own money mindset and your own money origin stories, and then having your partner do it as well, and then coming together, like that's how you build a marriage, right? Because money will just reveal your values. It
yeah,
reveals what you value, what you prioritize. And if you differ on that from someone, it's like, how do you have respect for it? How do you talk to each other about it? How do you agree on things? So we're still working on it 18 years in. And
yeah,
it always brings up opportunity for us to be like, oh, let's
yeah,
work on this. So I'm thankful for
yeah, yeah. Do you have a superpower apart from hooray?
that. You know, this one was tough for me. And I think it's because I don't always have the privilege of seeing myself from the outside in, but somebody once told me that one of my best superpowers was being able to create that safe and sacred space for someone. And that turns into opportunities for people to reveal themselves to me. Like, I'm one of those people that when we get talking, suddenly someone's told me their whole life story and we've talked about this and they feel so encouraged and they're like, how does we were literally just talking about this banana, like how did this happen? So, I'm very aware now that when I especially am intentional about it, that I can create a very safe vacuum, a very safe container, a very safe bubble for someone to reveal themselves. That's worked a great deal for people to physically reveal themselves
Yeah,
in the bra fitting room, but that also really aids me as a coach, as a friend, as a mentor, as someone who's just a fellow human that's like, hey, it's okay for you to actually tell me what's really going on. I really hate the question, "How are you?" unless you really mean it.
yeah,
It's not a greeting to me. They're like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "Do you really wanna know?" Because, like, I'm actually a complex human with many things going on right now. So I usually don't greet people that way if I don't have the time to really listen. So I'll just be like, "Hey, great to see you. Hey, love that hat. Hey, awesome that you're here today." No question. And then if we really wanna know, like, "Hey, how are you really doing today?" Because then you can take a breath and tell me how you're really doing. That's my superpower is that people are like, "Oh, I can really tell this person," and
yeah,
not be judged and just be able to be myself. That's my superpower.
yeah, yeah. I can see that totally, especially with the history you've got in your business life, how that could be, if it's evolved over time, and that definitely is a superpower, being able to see people, warts and all, clothes and all, no clothes, the whole thing.
No clothes, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I will say another superpower that I take for granted a lot because this is just me being born the way I am. I love being on television. I love doing TV. I make it's so goofy to me when people are like, "Oh my god, I could never go on TV. How embarrassing. That makes me so nervous." Of course I get nervous, it's a big deal, and especially on live TV. Oh my gosh. I genuinely love it and thrive and shine on television. I absolutely love doing it. So that's another superpower of mine too.
cool. What will you achieve before the end of this year?
Okay, so I have big financial goals this year. I've made big investments in my own support and mentorship. And so I have a big financial goal for sure. But actually, what I feel like I'll achieve by the end of this year is transformation. So I started my business 10 years ago when I was 29, about to turn 30. And that was such a significant year of transformation, like astrologically, but also just like culturally, turning 30 is a big deal. So I turned 40 in January. So literally at the end of this year will be like my last time being 39. And I'm already making massive waves and updates within my business. So that looks like some practical things like my team, some of the software and systems that we're using, some of the offerings that I'm putting into place, but it has a big deal to do with me and my identity. So I actually think my identity is going to shift a lot this year in a really powerful way, and I expect to be showing up big time by the end of this year.
Wait to see.
I also hope to be pregnant eventually. That's like a big thing on my to-do list that my husband and I have been trying for 4 years.
Okay.
So I'm really at a place of peace around if it happens tomorrow or it happens in another 4 years, like truly okay. But I'll call that in. I'll say, "Hey, let's do that." We'll see. I'm
Yeah,
open.
yeah, yeah. Well, fingers crossed with that one. My mum was
Yeah.
42 when I was born, so yeah.
Okay, so hey, that's what I mean. I've got some years. I'm
You've
not
got
stressed
time.
about it. I was for a while there. And now I just feel really at peace about it. I really do. It feels like it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen kind of a thing. So I'm obviously trying to meet that desire with my actions, which is an important thing for us to do with anything. So I'm not expecting a virgin birth, for example, but I'm also not forcing it. And there are certain steps that a lot of people have taken or are encouraging me to take that I don't feel ready to take it. It feels forceful and eventually might be the right step. But right now, my level of action is mostly about surrender and just taking really good care of myself and then doing the necessary things with my husband when we need to.
You hear
But yeah,
you hear so many stories about people that were really stressed about it, nothing
right.
happens, and then they just relax into it, and that's what they needed to do. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly, which that's like anything. That was like meeting my husband actually. And then it's also like building a business or calling in the big client. It's like it's not that you don't care anymore, it's that you stop forcing and pushing and instead open your palm and say, "Okay, I'm ready to receive." It's a reception. So,
And
taking a
trust, it's going to happen. Yeah,
absolutely. That trust, that surrender, and then letting go of the timeline is the biggie for me. That's my big goal this year is to like lovingly let go of the timeline.
yeah, yeah. What would be your advice to a younger Kimmay?
So I think my advice always is to like realize eh, how lovable you are. Because I think even in the past 10 years of building this business, uh my assignment anytime I feel like there's been a bit of a lull, a hiccup, a roadblock, and any kind of prayer I've had has always been like, can you actually just love on yourself through this? Because I want you to see how much I love you. Like that's that divine, unconditional love that when you tap into that, it's like makes the process so much easier. So, I think about myself even when I was like 15, like she just needed to hear, like, actually, you're really okay as you are. You're really lovable. And it's like, like practicing that love and like, receiving that love is actually going to make like soothe this whole situation. So please just love yourself. That would be my advice.
Yeah, beautiful. What's the best way for people to connect with you after this call?
I love for people to come over to Instagram. That's my favorite place to hang out. So I'm one of those people on one of these podcasts where I'm like, actually, please DM me. Like, come say that you heard me on the podcast. Tell me which one, because I'm on several, and then let me know. Like what you learned. What was a takeaway? If you have a question, so please come over. I'm at Hurray Kimmay on everything. So it's HURRAY KIMMAY. I'm also on TikTok and all the other places. And then hurraykimmay.com is a great place for anybody to get a lot of the information that I was talking about. In fact, if you go to hurraykimmay.com/class, that is where you can get some free raw information. So I have a free fit guide to even tell if your bra fits. And then I also have a free class that sort of walks you through like a taste of the course that I have just to see if it's a good fit for you. But you'll learn so much information in the first two resources anyway. So totally worth it for you to go there. Yeah, those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
And cool. Well, I'm sure lots of people are going to reach out to you because it's super inspirational, your story, and you are super inspirational. I'm
Thanks.
really excited that you've been on my show. So thank you very much. And I
My pleasure.
look forward to seeing you soon, maybe in Spain.
I know, maybe in Spain. Trust me. I just brought it up with my team member today to be like, maybe I would love to come to Spain. So if anyone out there is listening and you're in Spain, let's meet up. I'd love to come. That's on my list. It's on my bucket list. So, Allie, thank you so much for making the time for me today and for asking me such beautiful questions. It was such an honor to be here.
Thank you, Kamei.
Hooray.
I really hope you enjoyed this latest recording of the Make It Happen series, and I'd love you to subscribe to our podcast channel, or if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, just click the subscribe button. We'd love you to continue hearing and seeing more of our Make It Happen interviews. If you're not a member of Costa Women yet, but you're a woman who is living in Spain or a woman who is thinking about moving to Spain, do come and join us at costawomen.com. It's completely free to join. In the meantime, I look forward to sharing more Make It Happen interviews with you. Bye for now.